we are introduced to Abigail in the book of 1 Samuel 25. It says, Then David rose and went down to the wilderness of Paran, and there was a man in Maon whose business was in Carmel. Now the man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats. He was shearing his sheep in Carmel. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. The woman was of good understanding and beautiful. But the man was churlish and ill-behaved. He was a celibate, which means he was from Caleb's lineage. David had in the wilderness a neighbor. Before I move on, there's something that God is reminding me. In Judges chapter 5, in that song that I read from, it says in verse 12, Awake, awake, Deborah. Awake, awake, utter a song. Arise, Barak, and lead thy captivity captive, thou son of Abinoam. I hope you got that. Lead thy captivity captive. And that's in the King James Version. I was using the Revised Standard Version earlier, so I'm thinking maybe I should switch to King James Version for this as well. So let me go there quickly. 1 Samuel, just a minute. So it's 1 Samuel chapter 25. Okay. Right, so I'll just read from 1 Samuel. And it says, I was probably in verse 3. Now the name of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife was Abigail. She was a woman of good understanding and of a beautiful countenance. But the man was churlish and evil in his doings, and he was of the house of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. And David sent out 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, Get you up to Carmel, and go to Nabal and greet him in my name. And thus shall ye say to him, that liveth in prosperity, peace be both to thee, and peace be to thine house, and peace be unto all that thou hast. And now I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds, which were with us, we hurt them not, neither was there aught missing unto them. All the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy young men, and they will shew thee. Therefore let the young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good day. Give, I pray thee, whatever cometh to thine hand, unto thy servants and to thy son David. And when David's young men came, so basically he's telling them, we did not harm your men, we took care of them. So if you have anything that you can prepare us with, that would be great. Because David and his men really did not own any property, they didn't have land. So they had to look for means and ways of a livelihood, or actually even food to eat, basically. They spoke to Nabal according to all those words in the name of David, and ceased. And Nabal answered David's servant and said, Who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? Now notice David is not yet a king, that he's still running away from Saul, but he's fairly popular already, because they said, Saul has killed his thousands, but David has killed his 10,000. So it's not like he's not known. He's famous already. And Nabal answered David's servants and said, Who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? So David's young men turned their way and went again and came and told him all those things. So basically, they went back empty-handed. And David said unto his men, Guard ye on every man his sword. And they guarded on every man his sword. These are men of war. They're used to war. And David also guarded his sword. And there went up after David about 400 men, and 200 bode by the staff. But one of the young men told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, but he railed on them. But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. They were a wall unto us both by night and day, all the while we were with them, keeping the sheep. Now therefore know and consider what thou wilt do, for evil is determined against our master, and against all his household, for he is such a son of Belial that a man cannot speak to him. Then Abigail made haste, and took 200 loaves, and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs, and laid them on asses. And she said unto her servants, Go on before me, behold, I come after you. But she told not her husband Nabal. And it was so, as she rode on the ass, that she came down by the covert of the hill, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. Now David had said, Surely in vain have I kept all that this fellow hath in the wilderness, so that nothing was missing of all that pertaineth unto him, and he hath requited me evil for good. Meaning that they were actually a wall of protection, like security for Naboth's property. So, and more also do God unto the enemies of David, acquitted me evil. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David, if I live of all that pertain to him by the morning light, any that pisseth against the wall. So he was going to kill all the males in Naboth's household. And when Abigail saw David, she hastened and lighted off the ass. So start to mark what she does. Remember, already we've been told she had good understanding and a beautiful countenance. But notice what she does. The boldness begins with her intuition, just knowing what to do and doing it. Okay? So she takes her things. Notice she doesn't ask for permission, meaning she's a contributor to whatever it is that she's giving David and the men. All these things that she has packed from the field or wherever she got it from, the fig cakes and the wine and everything. She took it, even if it belongs to Naboth, the more the boldness to actually choose to take part of it without even disclosing what she wants to do with it. And then, in taking action, she rides her asses with the property to meet David. She doesn't send a servant, she goes there herself. Meaning, if David and his men were going to we're going to destroy everyone, including starting with his wife, they'd have easily chopped off her head. She did not even have that kind of protection. It just shows that she was ready to face whatever came, right? That takes boldness. And she fell at his feet and said, Upon me, my Lord, upon me let this iniquity be. Look at that ownership. That's true boldness. Ownership. She took responsibility. She owned up to what was not working, and she was like, yeah, blame me for this. And let thine handmaid, I pray thee, speak in thine audience, and hear the words of thine handmaid. Let not, my Lord, I pray thee, regard this man of Belial, even Nabal, for as his name is, so is he, Nabal, is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my Lord whom thou didst send. Now therefore, my Lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, seeing the Lord hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and from avenging thyself with thine own hand, now let thine enemies and they that seek evil to my Lord be as Nabal. Wow. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath brought unto my Lord, let it even be given unto the young man that follow my Lord. I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for the Lord will certainly make my Lord a sure house, because my Lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and evil hath not been found in thee all thy days. Look at that. Fighteth the battle of the Lord. So we go back to fighting God's battles. Yet a man is risen to pursue thee and to seek thy soul. But the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God. And the souls of thine enemies, them shall he sling out as out of the middle of a sling. And it shall come to pass, when the Lord shall have done to my Lord according to all the good that he hath spoken concerning thee, and shall have appointed thee ruler over Israel, that this shall be no grief unto thee, nor offense of heart unto my Lord, either that thou hast shed blood causeless, or that my Lord hath avenged himself. But when the Lord shall have dealt well with my Lord, then remember thine handmaid. And David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me, and blessed be thy advice, and blessed be thou which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood, and from avenging myself with mine own hand. For in very deed as the Lord God of Israel liveth, which hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hasted and come to meet me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the morning light any that paceth against the wall. So David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said unto her, Go up in peace to thine house. See, I have hearkened to thy voice, and have accepted thy person. And Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he held a feast in his house, like the feast of a king. And Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing less or more until the morning light. But it came to pass in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, that his wife had told him these things, and his heart died within him, and he became as a stone. In other words, he had a heart attack. And it came to pass about 10 days after that the Lord smote Nabal, that he died. And when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord that hath pleaded the cause of my reproach from the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servant from evil. For the Lord hath returned the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. And David sent and communed with Abigail to take her to him to wife. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us unto thee to take thee to him to wife. And she arose and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let thine handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my Lord. And Abigail hasted, and arose and rode upon an ass with 5 damsels of hers that went after her, and she went after the messengers of David, and became his wife. David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were also both of them his wife. Okay, so we see this woman who boldly takes responsibility for her husband's misdeeds and takes action, but she also is a servant, because when David wants to have her hand or asks of her hand in marriage, she says she can actually do the work of washing the feet of her husband's men. So she comes in with a heart of service, which is actually a boldness as well. We only term boldness as being mighty and rugged and no nonsense and nobody tells me anything. But also, like I said earlier, vulnerability is a sign of boldness. Service is a sign of boldness. Giving, generosity is boldness. Listening is boldness. Crying out to God for help is boldness. It's daring. It is courageous. It exhibits courage. Courage is acknowledging that you are inadequate. A bold statement. It's forward, it's impudent. In fact, let me look for the meaning of courage, because we often take these terms to mean something they are not. Okay? So boldness can be compared to courage. And courage allows us to face danger, fear, or vicissitudes, that is, changes in seasons, with self-possession, confidence, and resolution. It is bravery. But boldness is actually vulnerability. Courage is actually letting go. Courage is actually letting go. If you look at the original meaning of courage, from 1300 is courage, means heart as the seat of emotions, hence spirit, temperament, state or frame of mind, innermost feelings, temper. It's a moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. But courage, being the ability to control your fear in a dangerous or difficult situation, to be brave, is actually from a root definition that talks about the state of your heart. That's courage. That talks about bravery. So she was brave enough to face David, face his men, and even more courageous to accept to be his wife, because that requires a whole set of skills, a whole other paradigm altogether. Okay. So courage is the strength to face. The strength to face. And remember, we've talked about different women and how they gain strength to face. God has to be at the base, at the center, at the foundation of it all. God has to be at the center of it all. Valor is courage, especially in battle. Valor. This is from Wikipedia. It says courage is a choice and willingness to confront agony, pain, danger, uncertainty, or intimidation. You're willing to confront it. Okay. So I'm going to look next, before I look at the Samaritan woman next, let me read a bit from my book, 8 Crazy Women That Made Things Happen. Abigail, on hearing this, puts together impressive supplies, which is what David and his men needed anyway, and say to David, "On me, my lord, on me, let this iniquity be." And please let your maidservant speak in your ears, and hear the words of your maidservant. Please let not my lord regard this scoundrel Nabal, for his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, your maidservant, did not see the young man. Now therefore, my lord, as the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, since the Lord has held you back from coming to bloodshed and avenging yourself with your own hand, now then, let your enemies and those who seek harm for my lord be as Nabal. She actually prophesied his death. So, in act of boldness, heed and make haste to agree with your adversary. Okay. In an act of boldness and defiance, if it requires defiance, defy the status quo. Defy the status quo. Number 3, submit and bow to the authority that you want to persuade. In an act of boldness also, seek his best intentions. Seek the best intentions. Because you're guilty as charged. Seek the best intention of your adversary, or the one who accuses you, or accuses whoever that you are aligned with. Sometimes it's a marriage partner. You need to seek the best of whoever is accusing your partner, especially if your partner is guilty as charged. So next I will do a word study of the word bold, because I don't think we have really... Okay, here it is. I can actually do it now. Boldness is a lack of hesitation or fear in the face of risk or danger. It's courage. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look for courage. According to psychology. Cambridge Dictionary calls it a brave and confident way of behaving that shows no fear. But remember where it comes from. The foundation of that confidence without fear. Where does it come from? Okay, so I'll be back with the last character, which is the Samaritan woman. Ciao.